This changes everything for the Toronto Maple Leafs as we have a massive update as it pertains to Anthony Stolarz that has huge implications going forward for the team and changes the outlook of the playoff run for the Leafs. And to break that down as well as discuss multiple other updates ahead of tomorrow night's huge game against the Florida Panthers in Florida. So a ton to go over today, as well as some interesting quotes from some players and coaching staff. Stay tuned for all on this episode before we get into it. If you're a part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. We're getting very close to our goal of 17,000 subscribers. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. So if you want to help us towards that goal and you're enjoying the daily Leafs content because they are playing fantastic, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Darius, a lot to go over today, and obviously the Leafs are coming off of a huge win. They're up 2-0. They're in a very good spot, and the biggest question mark heading into tomorrow's game is going to be and was going to be about Anthony Stolarz, his availability, and then, of course, the decision from the coaching staff, the front office surrounding who starts in these games. Some of the decisions have been made. So you can see this here. Craig Berube, and if Stolarz will travel with the team to Florida, I doubt it. Not right away. So this is the first time we've gotten we haven't really gotten an update on the actual injury. We've gotten a pretty big update now for the first time on his availability, and it seems like all signs are pointing to him missing both games 3 and 4. He's not going to travel to Florida, and he says at least not right away. He doubts that he'll be traveling to Florida today. He hadn't seen the goalie today, so no update on how he is feeling there. So Darius, what are your thoughts on this? Now, one of the positive sides of it is that he says not right away. So maybe there's a chance he plays in game 4. I don't think it's going to be the case. It seems like he's going to be out for at least games 3 and 4. And the way this is going, I wouldn't be surprised if it's more games past that as well.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point if he does miss games 3 and 4 because they're saying he's not going to travel right away, which is a good sign, right? Like maybe he does come over for game 4. But if Joseph Woll plays well again, then I would play him in game 4 again because obviously Joseph Woll played great in game 2 and then and game 1. I thought he played all right. He let in a couple bad goals, but for the situation, I thought he played well. And then, heading into game 3, if he has another strong performance, then you have to continue to ride him, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see what they end up doing and how soon Anthony Stolarz becomes available because maybe he is dealing with a concussion. They're just not saying anything about that, right? And what the actual injury is. So again, we have no real timeline on him. We have no update on him because he said, Craig Berube, this is that, they didn't see him this morning and they don't know how he's doing. So, I'm sure they know how he's doing, but they didn't actually see him in person. So I'm sure we'll get an update tomorrow in terms of that. But obviously, in terms of game 3, it looks like it's going to be Joseph Woll. And I think that is fine because he played fine. And again, still a possibility for game 4, but I would say it's probably unlikely at this point. And things could get very interesting if Joseph Woll doesn't play well, but we'll see what happens because we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, the backup goalie is Matt Murray, and no direct update on his health, but a huge update on him not playing. So that's a very, I guess, unfortunate thing. There were some people saying that they were hoping he was going to be back for tomorrow's game. I don't think he would have played anyway. They're probably going to ride Joseph Woll until he either loses or Anthony Stolarz, returns. And I think even if Stolarz returns and Joseph Woll's winning, they might not go back to Stolarz for a little bit, depending on how it is. But they want to give him rest. Game 4 is a possibility, but at the same time, I wouldn't hold your breath about maybe even returning this series, depending on how Joseph Woll does. He had a very solid, good enough game in yesterday's to put them up. And speaking of yesterday's game a little bit, this is the first time since 1963 where the Leafs have held a 2-0 lead in 2 different playoff series during one postseason. You may have heard something about their lack of playoff proficiency in the last 50 plus years. And obviously, transitioning into, the game for tomorrow and also where the Leafs stand as it pertains to Joseph Woll. You can see this here. This is from Chris Pronger. How are you feeling after that victory? Woll was excellent at the end under duress. Defense held up under pressure late by Florida tied up. Secondary will be huge. Overall solid game start to finish. And as it pertains to the goaltending, that was the number one thing. I want your thoughts on this Chris Pronger tweet here. Obviously, Joseph Woll, he had a fine game, made a huge save, the biggest save of his career. You could argue to, save the game time goal there. If he can continue to play like that, give up 2 or 3 goals, maybe, 2 would be ideal, but 2 or 3 goals, let the Leafs offense do their thing. The Florida Panthers back are against the wall coming into game 3. Tomorrow's game, game 3. Tomorrow's game is going to be a huge one. If they win tomorrow, you have all the confidence in the world. And I think they just need to keep the pressure on. And I also think that Joseph Woll now is probably under a bit less pressure and a bit less stress after winning, I guess, both the games, but especially this game 2.
Yeah, he felt good. I think he should feel good heading into game 3 because he played a good game and he got the win, right? So that confidence levels up and throughout the whole team. And that, speaks volumes because, we know the history with the Toronto Maple Leafs, of course. But heading back to Florida, they're going to have their fans behind them in their building. I expect pushback. I do. But the Leafs have been playing very well. There's this whole thing and all this talk about the Panthers not playing that well, and I do believe there is a bit of that, but I think the Leafs are not allowing them to play well. The Leafs are really playing their style here. They're not playing up to any team, down to any team right now like we've seen in the past. They're just playing their game, their identity right now, and I think that's so refreshing. We haven't seen that in at least like 20 to 25 years. So they're playing fantastic. If they continue to roll into Florida that way, I think they're going to find success, and they just have to focus on game three. Everyone's talking about a split right now. I was talking about it last night, right? I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves. Just focus on game three. See if you can go up 3-0 in another series and back-to-back series. That would be a fantastic opportunity to force Florida, to have to win 4 in a row, which is very tough against any team. So can they do it? I think so. It's going to be fun to watch. And I think that everything's rolling right now. They're getting that depth scoring. A lot of people are talking about how Matthews isn't scoring. It is true, but he's playing really well in all 3 zones of the ice. So I'm not too worried about that because they're winning. The depth scoring is there. Everybody's doing their job and everyone's playing really well. So there isn't one player I can pick out and be like, this guy is, a negative impact for this team right now. They're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, they are very good for the first time in a very long time as it pertains to a playoff run. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Anthony Stolarz. It's going to be a huge question mark if they move on past this series and they have a little bit of a break there before whoever they play. But I don't want to get ahead of myself there. Take care of game 3. Obviously, we're talking about it yesterday, split the one of the 2 games at home. The Leafs have guaranteed themselves home ice advantage now for the rest of the series. So even if they lose the next 2, they still have home ice advantage for the game. And then, of course, game 5 and 7. So game 5 and 7, sorry. So it's going to be interesting. Let us know down below if you have confidence in Wall and what your thoughts are on this. A few other things here. Mitch Marner has an M on his stick for his son, Miles, and he said he's trying to play for him. And he looks very good. I mean, a bit passive at times in yesterday's game, but of course, you can see his goal yesterday, that it was the game-winning goal, was unbelievable. And I'm hoping that power play gets going. And we'll probably have another video on the power play coming up here soon. They need to shoot the puck more. And hopefully Mitch Marner, after scoring that goal, will be willing to shoot the puck more, having the M on his stick. And speaking of kind of the Leafs dominating, the Panthers didn't have a shot on goal after pulling Bobrovsky last night. In 2:55 with the goalie on the bench, they had 6 attempts and none of them hit the net. You can attribute a lot of that to the Leafs' great defense. Maybe the Panthers, I don't know, they're missing the net a lot. Obviously, they're crowding in front of Joseph Woll. It didn't feel this way watching in live time. I thought there was like almost 5 shots that every time they shot the puck, I thought it was going to go in just because it was the Leafs' luck and the way the Jets series has been going. But I'm hoping the Leafs can figure out a way to get empty net goals as well, because that's something that they're able to clear it. They played great yesterday. But the Panthers didn't score or didn't have a shot on goal for the last 2:55. And that's something that they were kind of translating over to from the Senators series with just shots on goal in general. They're playing really good hockey. And there's probably going to be some more empty net opportunities for both sides here. So hopefully the Leafs can continue to do this.
Yeah, all these games are going to be really tight. So I would imagine, like you said, both teams are going to get opportunities at empty nets throughout the rest of the series. But that is something that I think absolutely they need to try and score on the empty net. But at the same time, like there's teams in this league that are very good 6-on-5, like the Winnipeg Jets, for example, like the Florida Panthers. Like they called that timeout and they didn't even go over any plays. They knew exactly what they were doing 6-on-5. They've done it so many times and they've practiced it. So they knew exactly what they were doing. So they're dangerous. But the Leafs weathered that storm. They didn't get the empty net goal, but they won the game. They defended really well and they keep the shots to the outside. There's a lot of perimeter play, and people were talking about it in our stream last night that the Panthers were playing on the perimeter a lot, and that's kind of what the Leafs have done in the past. So the Leafs are doing a really good job of protecting the house and just keeping everything to the outside, clearing the ugly plays, and they got to get a little bit better, especially against the Panthers at clearing the zone too many times. They're getting trapped with one line on the ice and a defensive pairing on the ice, but overall, they're playing really well. All the lines are rolling, and they're continuing like they did against Ottawa to limit high danger scoring chances. So I think they're doing a fantastic job, but there are always things to clean up, and I'm sure they're going to put a lot of attention to detail on some of those things going to Florida.
Yeah, we have a very quick turnaround once again, a bit of a break, I believe after Friday's game, a couple days there. But one quick thing before I wrap up on Austin Matthews. He's 8 points in 8 games while being extremely effective defensively. The guy's winning over 58% of his faceoff and leading the team in shots. He's been a key factor in the team's success to this point. Yep. So you take that what it is. I mean, the Leafs, regardless of what you think about Austin Matthews' production, I think he can be better. His shot, maybe his wrist is hurt. The Leafs are winning games for the first time in the Core 4 era, and it's because of a bunch of different factors. But if that means Matthews scores less, I'm all here for it, and it worked in the regular season as well. A couple other things here. Again, we covered it earlier. Brad Marchand, they came ready to play this round. We see that. Florida's going to come back with fire, with something in the front of their home crowd. But at the same time, I think the Leafs are ready to go. And Steven Lorentz spoke about the home crowd on the Leafs side. It's beautiful to see. We feed off the crowd, and when they get the goalies go chants going, we definitely hear that. It's been a privilege to be there skating around. The crowd in Toronto has been extremely loud. The polar opposite of what we've seen over the past, the corporate style over the past, handful of seasons. There was points where you couldn't even hear, the players couldn't even hear the whistle because of how loud the crowd has been. So the home ice is a very real thing, and it's great to see the narrative kind of changed on that, especially given the fact that for the past while now, Leafs have been kind of seen as, maybe not the loudest crowd, even though the fans are some of the most passionate in NHL. To see the home ice kind of, actually be a home ice crazy advantage, especially now that the Leafs are winning, is huge.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd was unbelievable last night. The first couple playoff games, I think there was still some nervous and maybe like anxious energy or something like that in the building because, of course, of all the previous, the last 8 seasons and whatnot. But no, it was really good last night. It was really loud. There was like at least 2 or 3 times where you couldn't hear the whistle go, and the guys were continuing to play, and the whistle was obviously going. So it was loud in there, and I think like things have shifted a little bit after this win. I think Leafs fans, the city of Toronto, are right behind this team now, and they're like, okay, I can actually see this team winning, and they're playing the right way. So things have shifted from like, oh no, we're the underdog, I'm not sure if we can get this done, to like, all right, this team is for real.
Yep, and well, we'll get to see tomorrow if that continues. Hopefully it does. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, so make sure to subscribe button. See you guys later.